Mhm.
But to go to same-sex marriage, what you've done now is you've gone to promote. Now you're saying that the behavior is a good thing.
I often get asked, why do I pick on people like Frank Turek so much? And the reason is because Frank Turek is dangerous. He says all of the same anti-LGBT stuff that these more extreme and outspoken apologists and pastors will say. He just knows how to hide it behind flowery language. In this video, we're going to take kind of a side-by-side comparison of the things that Frank Turek says and the things that really, really disgusting people who aren't allowed on YouTube because they're so vile. We're going to compare the absolute outright vile language of people like Dylan Oz. If you haven't heard of him, look him up. He's really bad. But Frank Turek says the same things that Dylan Oz says. He just knows how to say it in a way that's not going to get him kicked off of YouTube, such as this.
Most of our nation's history, the nation through the states thought it was acceptable to prohibit same-sex behavior. Now, we might today say, well, it's a free country. We should allow people. We should permit people to do that. Okay, so now you're moving from prohibit to permit. But to go to same-sex marriage, what you've done now is you've gone to promote. Now you're saying that the behavior is a good thing.
The purpose of this video is not to give counter arguments to what Frank just said, which what he just said is ridiculous, but it's just to compare his language to something like this from Dylan Oz.
But people have taken this to such an extreme where they're saying, celebrate the sin, not just tolerate it, celebrate it.
I know what you're thinking. You're not shocked. What? Frank Turek doesn't like the fact that gay people exist and are starting to be accepted in society? It's news to nobody. I understand that. But listen to the language that he used and that Dylan Oz used. It's virtually the same. Now let's take a look at what Dylan Oz has to say about child predators, we'll just say for YouTube purposes, and the LGBT community. And then we'll see what Frank has to say.
To give them all homosexuals are pedophiles. Now, here's the thing. Here's what I'm not saying. I'm not saying that every single homosexual that's alive right now has committed that act with a child already, because it could be that they haven't had the opportunity yet. You want to know why we say that all homosexuals are pedophiles? And let me make that very clear. All homosexuals are pedophiles.
Now compare that language to this.
Not everybody who gets involved in sexual immorality obviously becomes a pedophile. But the people that do become pedophiles, they start small. You know what's coming next for approval in our country? We've gone from now homosexuality is fine. Now transgenderism is fine. What do you think's coming next? Pedophilia.
I don't want to think about it.
Yeah.
Now, people like Dylan Oz are easy to spot out. They're easy to call out and push back into whatever vile hole they crawled out of. But people like Frank Turek get the spotlight, and their values are the same. They're teaching the same thing. Frank's co-host kind of says it best with this.
This is something that's going to evolve into something that is not good for our nation. And everybody's like, yeah, you're being paranoid. You're being fanatical.
Because the kind of language Frank Turek uses, the arguments that he makes lead to this.
These people should be put to death. Every single homosexual in our country should be charged with the crime, the abomination of homosexuality that they have. They should be convicted in a lawful trial. They should be sentenced with death. They should be lined up against the wall and shot in the back of the head. That's what God teaches. That's what the Bible says. You don't like it, you don't like God's word, because that is what God says.
And because of what Dylan Oz just said, the vile, disgusting venom that just came out of his mouth is why I hate people like Frank Turek, the wolf in sheep's clothing.